Hello. I know that today we are supposed to be talking about chapter 4 of the book Psycho-Cybernetics, but I'm going to take a detour. I think that sometimes when something comes to me and I think that it's for someone else, and so I share that message with someone else, and then I keep hearing it in other forms in multiple ways, then I know that the message is actually for me. And when the message is for me, I can learn something from it. Therefore, I can maybe share and teach you something from it. So, not too long ago, I was scrolling through Facebook, and up comes this video from Steve Harvey. And he's telling the story of the time when he was, younger and he was living with his parents and he wanted a new car. And so he came home and he told his mom, Mom, I'm going to get me a new car. I'm saving money for a new car. And his mom said, yeah, but you still have your old car out there sitting on blocks. And he couldn't understand, why she would say that. Like, he was trying to be positive and, deliver a positive message. I'm going to get me a new car. I'm saving money for a new car. And his mom just seemed to always be negative. And he said that this happened several days in a row. And his mom kept bringing up the old car that he had, like, sitting on blocks in the driveway. And finally, one day when his mom did that, he asked her, he's like, Mom, why do you keep bringing this up? I'm trying to be positive. And his mom said to him, you can't have a new car until you get rid of the old one. You have to make room for the new car. Where are you going to put it if you don't get rid of the old car? And I heard that message and I thought, oh, yeah, I know who that's for, right? And so I sent them the video clip thinking, you got to understand, you got to make room for the new, you got to let go of the old, you got to make room for the new. And then a couple weeks ago, I had put a quote on Facebook, All the Broken Pieces, and it was, the quote says, do you know why people are so unhappy, or why people can't be happy? And the reason that they can't be happy is because they won't let go of what makes them sad. And again, I thought, oh, a couple people, I know who that's for. Like, I got it. Like, I know who that's for. And then I came across a story talking about how monkeys have been caught in traps. And in fact, this is how they, and maybe still do, I don't know, but it is proven, it is definitely true that the way that people used to catch monkeys in the jungle or wherever they live, is they would take a coconut and they would drill a hole in the coconut just big enough for a monkey to get his hand in, like going straight in. And then they would make a trail of peanuts, and then they would, at the end of that trail, have this coconut tied in a tree, and they would put a bunch of peanuts in the middle of the coconut. So sure enough, a monkey would come along and pick up these peanuts one at a time, and follow this trail right to this coconut. And then they would get to the coconut and they would put their hand in, and then they would grasp the peanuts that were in the coconut. But when their hand was a fist, they couldn't pull out their hand because they were making a fist. And the monkey, of course, would just start squawking and squealing, and of course the hunters would know that, yep, they caught a monkey, and they would go to the monkey and they would catch it, and the monkey would now lose its freedom. But the monkey didn't want to lose the peanuts. All it had to do was open its hand and let go of the peanuts and pull its hand out, and it was free. But it didn't want to let go of those peanuts, and it ended up losing its freedom instead. So these things, I kind of started thinking about them, and then I remembered there's a park that I like to go to. The Huron River runs through it, and I just really love being by the water. So I just kind of go there as frequently as I can and just kind of enjoy that peace. Well, I was reminded after seeing all of these things of a time last year, and again, I thought it was a message for someone else. I asked God to show me lessons in the things that I see, and so last summer I went, and there was this crane, and this crane had something like stuck to its beak. It looked like maybe something had gotten caught in some fishing line, and the fishing line got wrapped around its beak, and it had this big clump of just something, and I couldn't get close enough. The crane would not let me get close enough, obviously, to see what it was. But he was on the bank of this river, and he was trying to catch a fish. And I watched this crane for probably an hour, just trying over and over and over to catch a fish. And every once in a while, it would get a fish, and it would like get it up onto the bank, but then it couldn't open its mouth. It couldn't open to eat the fish. So eventually, it would try going at it, and the fish just kind of flop back into the water and swim away. And then the crane would try again, and and it just kept trying, and it kept missing, and it couldn't eat. Now, I watched this for a long time, and I thought, this poor thing, it is going to die. If it doesn't get whatever this is on its beak off, it is going to die. It can't eat. So I, of course, tried to approach it knowing that it was not going to let me get close enough, but I figured I would try anyway, right? What's the harm in trying? And of course, as I stepped closer, the crane moved away, and I'd step closer and the crane moved away. There was no way it was going to let me get close enough to help it. So I ended up calling animal control, and I left. What else could I do? So again, I saw a lesson in this and thought it was for someone else. And to me, the lesson is, if you don't let go of the junk that is holding you back, if you don't let go of all of this stuff, you're going to die. You have to let go of all of the garbage that is holding on to you. And if you can't get rid of it yourself, then you have to accept the help of someone else to allow you to move forward. And then the final little piece of all of these incoming messages was at church on Thursday evening. I went to our Thursday evening service, and the worship leader was talking about anxiety and talking about how, as a perfectionist, which I struggle with perfectionism, and we try to build these things up, right? We try to build our perfect scenarios and our perfect circumstances, and we try to plan everything like step by step perfectly, and everything has to be in order, and everything has to be in line, and I have to know all of the details before I step out and do anything with it, and I have to have all these perfect plans, perfect scenarios, perfect situations, and everything has to be lined up perfectly. And the worship leader is the one that was talking about this, and she struggles with anxiety and has struggled with anxiety. And she said that she just heard the Lord say to her, just let it fall apart. Just let it fall apart. And that's when I got it. That's when I really internalized the message and finally realized, oh, God's trying to tell me something. It's not all of these messages for just other people, but the message is for me. Holding on to, like, there are certain things that I hold on to that I just need to let go, that I just need to let them fall away. We ask God, like, we'll go to God and we'll ask him to bless us, right? We'll pray for blessings. But our hands are closed. Our hands are like, we're holding on to what we've got. Like, and we're just holding on to it for dear life. And God can't put anything else in our hands because we're holding on so tightly and we won't let it go. How can we receive God's blessing when we're not making room for it? How can God give us something new when we're holding on to everything that's old, everything that's in the past? How can we be happy when we won't let go of what makes us sad? Some of us are so busy blessing ourselves that there's no room for God to bless us. I actually had this conversation with someone quite a while ago, just talking about how they want God's blessing, but God has no room to bring his blessing because they're too busy blessing themselves with all of the stuff that they can get and all of the things that they can have. If you want God's blessing, you have to make room for it. And if you want the new, you have to let go of the old. If you want the good, you have to let go of the garbage. If you want the happiness, you have to let go of the sad. God can't bring blessing into our life when we're holding on to all of the stuff that holds us down. And thinking about this, it made me think of one of my favorite parts of The Lion King. And I'm going to give you a quote by Mufasa. So Mufasa and Simba are sitting on a cliff, and they're looking out, over this vast land. And Mufasa is explaining to Simba that this one day will be his kingdom. And Mufasa says, everything that the light touches is our kingdom. Everything that the light touches. And you know what? That applies to us too. God's kingdom is everywhere the light touches. But those things that we say, no, this is mine, those areas that we block the light off from, right? Because Simba then asks, what are these dark places? What is that where the shadow's at? Those are the places that we can never go. We have places in our life where the darkness reigns. And we tell Jesus, you can have everything except this. This is the part I'm holding on to. Your secrets, your dark places, your sins that you don't want to let go of. The things that your flesh is holding on so tightly. God, I'll give you this. I'll give you Sunday morning. I'll give you Thursday evening, but Friday, Saturday, those are mine. You can't have those. His kingdom is wherever the light touches. So you have to allow his light in all of you. You have to stop reserving parts of yourself. His kingdom comes in you when you allow him access to all of the parts of you. Not too long ago, I told a story of when I was healed from the sexual abuse that I suffered, the moment that God healed me. And I had a lot of parts of me that I had roped off, put the rope around and said, this is the place that you can't touch, God. You can't have this. You can have everything else. You can touch all of these other places, but you can't touch this one area. But that one area is the area that I needed him to touch. But I didn't want him poking around in there. What parts of your life do you not want God poking around in there? Because God can't bring healing until you allow him in. And God can't bless you until you make room for him. And God can't bring in the new as long as you're holding on to the old. So you need to do an inventory. I am doing an inventory of the things that I'm holding on to, that I don't want to let go. The things that I'm afraid to let go of. And those are the things that God wants. Because God can't bring the blessing as long as I'm holding on to the curse. God can't bring the happiness as long as I'm holding on to the things that hurt me and the things that make me sad. That applies to all of us. So it might be time to take an inventory of the things that you have roped God off from and be willing to open that up. Be willing to let His light shine on it and bring healing, and allow Him to take out all of the stuff that doesn't belong and give Him and let go of all of the things that's not serving Him and it's not serving you. You have to be willing to let go of those things. So that was my message for me. I hope it helped you. I love you guys, and I will see you next week when we will talk about Chapter 4 of Psycho-Cybernetics, Dehypnotizing Yourself. But in the meantime, just kind of do that inventory and be willing to let go of the things that are bringing you harm so that God can bring in the things that bring you good. Love you guys. Talk to you next time.